Welcome to the One Player Podcast, the show on solitaire board games. I'm Albert, and this is episode 370.
Forever and ever, no matter how long the game takes, we'll always just be playing the game.
Oh, that's so good, Julius. I really like that one. Yeah, that might be one of my favorites so far, and it's so accurate.
A reference that Albert actually got.
Yeah, because I'm old enough to get that one. Hey, but speaking of forever and ever, I just want to remind folks that we do have a contest still ongoing. So you could win all Final Girl Series 3 expansions. So make sure and email me at, Albert at oneplayerpodcast.com, and just let me know, something about your favorite horror movies or something horror movie-ish. Just, have a little bit of a monologue to add me, and I'll probably reply with something. And the thing is, this episode, I think, goes live at the very end of February. We'll probably be drawing a winner right after that, maybe the week later. I don't know. So you don't have much time. Seriously, if you've been meaning to enter and you just haven't gotten around to it yet, enter now. This contest is open to everybody worldwide, so please enter. It's an English version of Final Girl Series 3. Yeah, that's all I just wanted to say. Now that foreverness is done, what else is going on forever, Julius?
Board games. We are doing, as is our normal every 5 episodes, we are doing a deep dive into a certain topic, and this time is the forever board game. Board games that take a really long time to play.
Hours and hours and hours. And I think we set our limit at least 3 hours.
Yes.
For the record, yep. So yeah, some games are pretty quick. Some games you die very fast and you're done and then you can play again. Other games just go on and on and on. And today's episode is about those on and on guys.
And rather than talking on and on and on about that.
Yeah. Well, no, so 3 hours is 180 minutes, right? That's a lot. So when I think of it in minutes, it doesn't sound so bad. But yeah, it's still a long time. And I've definitely played many games that last that long. Did you have any criteria, Julius, to filter out your list a little more, make it tougher or make it easier? Like that?
I tried to avoid having legacy, because I didn't think that a legacy game would really be considered a game that takes a long time to play. So, for example, something like Aeon's End Legacy or Pandemic Legacy, you can kind of maybe consider those a single game, but I try to avoid doing anything like that. So there were a number of games that pretty quickly knocked off my list. Ones that I had actually originally had on my list, like Under Falling Skies, for example. It is a full campaign, but each game is kind of just doing it multiple times.
Yep, and each game is pretty quick. Honestly, it's probably half an hour to play the game, something like that.
Yeah, so I think I skirt kind of close to that rule with one of my games.
Okay, there's one game. What's it called? The Seventh Continent. I wonder if I don't know if that's on your list. If it is, sorry about the spoiler. But would that count? Because that's a game you could put away and take back out later, but it's still the same game. You're still playing the same adventure.
It absolutely would count, and it made my short list, but it didn't quite make the top 3. Seventh Continent is exactly the type of game that I'm talking about, because yes, it's a game that takes a long time to play through the entire story and the entire exploration. But Seventh Continent is it's left my collection. It wasn't particularly so exciting, so it didn't make it on my list. But the one on my list that is very similar to that, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump into my first one, is Sleeping Gods, and specifically Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, which is the sequel to Sleeping Gods. And in Sleeping Gods, you are playing, it's about a 6-hour-ish game, where you are this band of companions who have accidentally flown through a portal in space and hopped out into this other realm that is full of, sleeping gods that are these weak, otherwise very powerful beings, and you're trying to collect totems so that you can get their help to be able to beat the Hellthark, this guardian of the portal, and be able to escape back to your realm. So you're traveling. There's a map book that you are exploring all throughout, and there's a bunch of encounters throughout the map book. There's numbers written, so you'll go to a place, you'll have an encounter, you'll spend tokens to be able to give points to try and achieve your objective and get through the whole thing. And theoretically, the goal is to achieve your quest and get through to be able to level up and get enough totems to be able to powerful enough to face off the health arc and theoretically win.
Okay, that sounds fun. And is it something you're gonna play in one sitting, you think, or you're gonna break it up into multiple sessions?
Thanks to the power of the game table, we do break it up in multiple sessions. It does have a save function where when you camp, you can write down what it is that you're wanting to do, but it's difficult. It's difficult to really remember what it is and be able to write it all down, and it's kind of a hassle. The save state system, it's fine, but there's a lot of components and a lot of stuff. Being able to keep track, because you're playing with 5 characters, and each of those characters have their own layout and like 6 cards per character, and you have your hand, and you have to keep clear which deck goes where. And yeah, you could save it, but it's too much trouble.
It's easier to just leave it on the table. Yeah, I can see
Absolutely.
that. Unless you have cats, and that's my biggest problem with the big games. So I
That's why
cannot.
you get a vaulted table with a topper.
Yeah, that would be nice. No, I have a game table that I got, but honestly, right now I've got just too much junk on it. And I keep trying to clean it, and it just doesn't get there. So it's just a big messy table. So I end up playing on the dinner table. But either way, with this table, I couldn't do it. I would have to make a topper for it, and I probably could. But yeah, I don't know. Cats make this challenging in general for me. All right, so that's a good one. I am curious about the game. I've not gotten it. I have not tried. I think I won't, but it does sound cool, and I've heard it's an amazing game also.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very fun. It's a very nice adventure. It's big and it takes a long time to play, and I don't know that it's super exciting to play multiple times.
Okay, it's once and you're kind of done with the story, unless you put it away for 10 years.
I mean, it's not that it's once you're done with the story because there's a lot of places you can go. What This
Ah,
may be something we just need to get into a full dive. It's more that when you have a run through, so you sort of pick up a bunch of threads that you never get to finish, and you end the game with like half your threads just sort of hanging out there. And you have like, well, I want to know the end of the story. I have no idea where they could be without just looking through everything. And then you pick it up the next time and you sort of wander off in another direction. And maybe you see some of the same threads and maybe you don't. And sometimes it repeats and sometimes it doesn't. And you're sort of stuck. Well, do I want to repeat and figure out the end of those stories? Do I want to just do new stuff? And so some of that just has a certain measure of frustration.
okay. Well, that sounds like a cool one. All right. Um, Let me tell you about my first game. The My first game, and I'm gonna cheat because I haven't actually played this one, but I really want to play it. It's on my list definitely to play. It's Mr. President, the American Presidency 2001 to 2020. It's a GMT games about pretending to be the president and kind of going through what that might be like, and it simulates those years 2001 to 2020. Each 4 year presidency is a scenario, and the criteria is different for how you play. It's such a big game. I mean, it says it's 6 to 10 hours or 6 to 12 hours, which that's a lot. That's a lot of time. Which is part really why I haven't gotten it out yet. The rule book is 48 pages. I think just reading the rules is a 3 hour game, honestly. So much
Oh
much less
boy.
playing it. The board, it has 2 boards. One board is 2 by 8. The small board is only a quad fold, so it's only 4 pieces. So it's a big monster game. That's gonna require a lot of space. Again, with the cats, that's a big issue. It's got 200 pages worth of rule books and reference books and whatnot. So it's a big monster of a game to play. A simulation. Uh, Really excited by it. On the other hand, with the current state of our presidency, I'm kind of scared to pretend to be a president. It's like, oh, nowadays it kind of gives me the cooties, the idea of being a president. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that because it is. It's. I think things are really messed up. So yeah. So anyway, that's definitely a tangent. Mr. President, a simulation game, and to me, this game is in line with a lot of other games by GMT and older games by Avalon Hill, the war games, the solo war games tend to be big games and
Yeah.
tend to take hours. So I kind of categorize this along with all the war games that are soloable.
And how many hours does that take you
What
to
to
play
play
the
to
play
play?
Mr. President? How many hours is this? Because it's
So
rated like
no, so
600 minutes on
yeah,
BGG.
no, that's what I saw. 6 hours to 12 hours for a game. I'm I am not sure if that means for all 20 years or just one of the scenarios. With GMT games, it could go either way because there are definitely some more games where you play them, and there's this first scenario is the first 4 years, the second scenario is the last 4 years, or you could play the whole thing as one giant scenario. So I'm guessing each one takes a few hours. As many books as much pages of reference materials there is in there. I can't imagine it would be a quick game no matter what.
Oh
So
boy.
yeah, it's a thick, heavy box, and it's pretty solid. I mean, it's all paper, right? There's very little air in there. Yeah, that's one that I'm really excited by, and is definitely if you're looking for a big, long experience, this sounds like one that'll do it for you.
All right.
Yeah, everything from here on out is going downhill. Everything's this one's only 4 hours. That's small now.
Sure. Well, the second one that I included was another big experiential game. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll find some more ones that can have repeat play in yours, because yours sounds like Mr. President you can actually play multiple times. Mine you can only play once. The next one I'm
Ah.
going to be talking about is Cantaloop. And
Oh.
specifically, the only one I've played yet is book one. But
Yeah.
Cantaloop is another adventure board game where it's kind of like Monkey Island and the point and click computer board game, but in physical, paper, card, and puzzle format.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of Cantaloop is that you have a book and you have a deck of cards, and between the book, you're looking around and you're trying to find numbers and you're trying to pair them with other items to make sets of four numbers, and by numbers I mean numbers and letters. And you'll then reference those in the back with a red filter so that it hides information that you aren't supposed to see. And sometimes they'll tell you, yay, you found a thing, go find something else from a deck, or no, you're an idiot. Or every once in a while, hey, that's an achievement for being quite that dumb, which are always funny when you can do. But
Yeah.
there's this story about the dude who used to be from a prison gang, and his job now is to break back into prison to try and pick up people for this great, excellent heist. So it tells a story. It's a puzzle adventure game where you're trying to figure out what it is the designers want you to put together to be able to identify, what the right things to do and where the right direction to go is. The I've not had a chance to play the later two. I'm hopefully going to eventually at one point in time get a chance to play the later two. But I enjoyed the first one. I thought it was good fun, and I thought it was a very fun one. It took, when we played through it, it took about 6 hours to play through the entirety of it. Similar to the other one, you can pause and save, just a matter of making sure you keep track of what it is that you've done and what it is that you haven't. But I thought it was a fun little adventure. That is Cantaloup's Book One, Breaking into Prison.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's on my list too. So you took one of mine, unfortunately for me. According to
Uh-oh.
BGG, yeah, that one I've got enough. I'm fine. That one's 5 to 12 hours. So yeah, that definitely fits in the plus 3 hour category. It's fun, and I had no plans to play the next one or get the next one. It's like I think for me it's one and done, but I found it on clearance at my game store, so I bought it like half off or something. So I do have number two, and I'll play that eventually.
I also have number two. I'll play it eventually.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I, yeah, at some point, yeah. I do like how much it feels like a point and click adventure. It's amazing how well it does that with it being a book, because each time you're looking at page, there's an image there of the scene that you're at, and you're not moving around. There's no animation, but you get the scene and all the things on the virtual screen that you can interact with by playing your cards on each of the items on it. And it just and the sense of humor really matches the those old point and clicks really well. So yeah, this is a fun game. We talked about it before once, and I think we both enjoyed it. Great example of a 3-hour game.
So, Albert, what's your next one?
Um, my next one is it's an older train game. Again, a complicated game. It's called Silverton. It was published
Ooh.
by Mayfair Games. It's a it's building a rail network and delivering goods in the Colorado area. And it is a pretty fun game. You're laying the tracks, you're buying goods and delivering them. You're picking up cargo in different cities. Like you'll pick a card and says, "Oh, they want you to deliver to this city this type of good." So you choose what you're picking up and delivering, and and as you deliver goods, there's like 5 or 6 different things you could choose to deliver. Prices go up and down in the markets based on how much is being fulfilled. So the more successful you are at delivering a good, the less valuable it becomes. So it gets pretty neat and pretty detailed. Just a neat game. It's a train game. It's clocks in at exactly 3 hours. So if you're fast, you might be able to get it done more quickly. But I don't know. It's an older game. I'm not sure if it's available anymore. I think it might be out of print, but it may be getting reprinted or have gotten reprinted. I feel like. Um, and yeah, I haven't played it in years, but it is neat. This is a game I really want to get back to play. And then I've played it once with my brother as a 2 player game, and that was just really fun. That took hours, and that was just so satisfying. Um, I don't know why that kind of game just is. The There's a dedication inside. Apparently, the guy that designed it passed away before it was ever published, and his wife had it published. So there's a
Huh.
little bit of a sad story there, I thought, but very nice, very sweet. So that is Silverton, an older train game from Mayfair Games.
Interesting. I was not aware of that story behind the Silverton game. That's one I've heard of.
Mm-hmm.
That's an older one. That's from like a '90s game.
Yeah, it is. It's an older. I don't think it's 90s. Maybe 90s or early 2000s. I don't really know. Hmm.
Yeah.
Probably 90s. You're right, because I think I bought it like around 2004 or something like that. I don't think it was brand new then anymore.
And what if, I mean, I had difficulty finding too many games that were released currently where the game itself played in
Hmm.
that long period of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, near games tend to be shorter. They definitely
Yeah.
have gotten away from the really big, long experience games. Long is the exception.
Yeah. And I was a little tempted to add in ones where they take or they feel like they take forever when I play them, even though I don't know that most people would take that long, but I didn't.
Yeah, there's a couple I could. So I have one like that on my list that I think is probably well, it's longer solo, is what I think. Um, but we'll get to that. What is your next game?
The last one on my list is Kingdom Legacy Feudal Kingdom. This is a 6-hour solo campaign card game, all in a single deck box, where you will have a single deck and you will be going through the deck over and over and over again. And every time you take a turn, you are playing out 4 cards, and those cards will give you certain resources, whether it's wood or gold or stone or what have you. And you'll expend those resources to upgrade one of your cards. When you upgrade it, you'll rotate the card around to give it its higher level side. And theoretically, you're wanting to upgrade your deck so that your deck will produce better resources, more consistent resources, so that you can then continue upgrading. And then every time you go through the deck, you'll look over at the card box and you'll pull from the legacy deck or from the extra deck, or essentially you'll keep going through the extra deck. Every time you go through it, you'll pull another 2 from the extra deck, and it'll either give you some new rules or it'll throw 2 more cards into your deck, which can have some different rules. So it might be that it's something that's going to be attacking, or it might be something that's going to be a negative, or some issues, or a new type of warehousing, or some new type of quests. Something different is going to be added into it. You'll continue going through the deck over and over again, slowly taking out cards from the legacy deck. I don't remember what it's called, but slowly taking cards out from the bonus deck area. And then as you complete that whole deck, it'll then say, okay, time for a final score. And you'll look at how much points you've accumulated throughout your deck, whether it's on permanent cards or decks in there, and you'll score it and you'll figure out what your score is. And then if you want, you can post it online against other people who have no reason not to just lie. Which I fully believe that many of them do. There's no reason for them not to, and people on the internet are the worst.
There's no reason to lie either about something like that, honestly.
But people do. I don't get it. People just do. Nonetheless, I enjoy having my little box with my box saying that I scored high points, and I enjoyed going through it. I don't need to compete. This is one of the reasons why I enjoy Beat Your Own Score games. I enjoy playing through it. I have fun just finding a score at the end. Anyway, so
yeah,
you go through it throughout the course of the deck. Theoretically, you can just pause at any time you're in the middle. Theoretically, even in the middle of the deck, although they have instructions to pause, like when you're about to open a new one, which was always the hardest time for me, because I was always like, well, I want to find out what the next cool card is. And so I that was the hardest time for me to pause. So I almost never did. I would just pause in the middle of the deck, just leave it there.
Oh goodness, gosh, okay.
Yeah, not of the rules, but the only way for me to curb the impulse. After we reviewed it last time, someone pointed out that the card art that I had enjoyed so much was actually an AI card art. It's such a complicated topic.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. I would certainly not prefer, but I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it's a whole episode on its own, right? Well, AI art, I guess. Probably not for our show, but yeah. I mean, it keeps the cost down. That's the thing. The game is relatively cheap for all the cards you get and how much art's in it. It's only like $15.
The game is definitely cheap for it,
and it's a small print, right? If they could not have, I would not buy the game as much as it would have to cost if it all had real art, or if they made many, many more copies, and it was too different, I think, and weird for that to even work. So
yeah.
I think this is the only way it would have existed. Now,
I don't know if that's true. I have no idea, but maybe.
Yeah.
I think you just had to repeat some art. I don't know. Maybe we'll get into that another time. But nonetheless, even knowing that, it didn't bother me enough in this one, so I still really enjoy it. I still think it was really fun. So, yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It is a fun
still
game.
torn. The jury's out in my personal brain about AI art and things like that. I'm open to more discussion about it.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot this game is so long, honestly, because it's such a little tiny game and it plays so quickly.
And it just keeps coming.
Yeah, and the weird thing is it doesn't really change from round to round. It's basically the same game the whole way throughout. You add rules here and there, but it doesn't really feel that different from beginning to end. Which is interesting that a game is that consistent throughout is going to be fun for 6 hours, considering how simple it is. But yeah, that's a good game, and there's expansions for it. So when you finish it, you're like, man, I want to keep going. And you can. You could get a couple little tiny expansions. They add a couple hours each, I think. I played the game through, and I played it incorrectly. Because you mark up the cards, you can't really replay it. So I've bought a second copy to play it again, and this time get it right.
Nice.
But yeah, that is the one drawback about the game. It's not replayable, really. You can make it work, I suppose, but you'd have to sleeve your cards
have to buy another deck.
Yeah.
For the cost, just buy another deck.
I agree. Yep, that's what I did. That's absolutely what I did. And it is now available in the U.S. When we talked about it, it was not. There were copies in the U.S. I don't know, a few months ago. I have no idea if they're still in stock or what around, but they may be. Anyway, so that is your last game?
That was my last one. What's yours, Albert?
I am torn. I got a few I could pick from. I think I'm going to do what I do every time we have one of these episodes. I'm going to throw out a role-playing game, which is kind of cheaty, especially for this category, because some of these games, like Ironsworn, you can go on forever because you just keep playing and playing and playing. Right? I have probably played 20 or more hours of that game, just a single campaign going on, and it's not over. You keep playing. And this is a game where you're, at least when I play it, I'm journaling. I'm writing down my character's story, what happens. There's a lot of dice rolling in this one because you're doing combat and you're questing and doing things, and all these things involve dice rolls to succeed or fail. When you fail, because it's narrative driven, it doesn't mean like you got killed or you took damage necessarily. It advances the story in a different way than you're expecting, right? And that could be many, many different ways depending on what you fail and how you decide to fail. And as a fantasy setting campaign role playing game, there's a lot of world building that you could put into the game of thinking about the cities and the towns and designing them and drawing maps for all this, and all that is to me very much part of the game, not just prepping for the game. It's building that world. So that is easily a game that could take more than 3 hours, and you could put it down or play it in one sitting until until you die with that. That could take forever, I guess. I have put mine down. I haven't played for a few months, but I'm ready to jump in at any moment and just continue from where I left off. It is easy to do. I did find that pretty easy to do with this game, actually. Um, it's a pretty
Very cool.
unique setting, I thought. Yep. And I will say that most
Definite
journaling
classic Albert.
RPGs, yeah, yeah, most journaling RPGs could easily last 3 hours. So just about any of them will fit that category. But I think Ironsworn is a good one because it is a campaign. Even the ones that are a fixed story that has a beginning and end still usually seem to take 3 hours or more. But this is being a campaign will go on forever. So that is my third one. Do
Very
you do
nice.
you have any do you have any honorable mentions you want to talk about, Julius?
Mage Knight, the board game.
Oh, is that a big? I've never played that one, but I did play the Star Trek Mage Knight, didn't I? Yeah, I forgot that is a long game too.
Yeah, that was the only one that was on my honorable mention list.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna mention Arabian Nights, maybe it's Tales of the Arabian Nights from Z-Man Games. And again, this is an older game. Are you familiar with this one?
I am.
It's a it's a game in which you're traveling on a map of the Mid East and Europe and maybe into Asia, and you're wandering around the map from cities to cities. Each turn, when you travel somewhere, and I think if I remember, it's been a little while, you have goals, and as you're moving around the map, you're trying to reach different places. You open up a paragraph book and find the correct entry and read and see what happens to you, and you'll make choices on what happens. Sometimes you may have roles to make or choices to make, and these things affect your story. And there are many, many, many paragraphs to choose from as you're playing. So the stories are very different each time. It's a multiplayer game. If you're playing solo, the goal is to keep playing until you maximize your attributes for the character. I that can go on for many hours too. I think it's slow to play. And the thing is, because when you play multiplayer, if Julius is taking his turn and he's moving around, I'm reading the book for him, and it kind of speeds it up. So while he's doing something, I'm also doing something to speed it up for him. If you're playing solo, you move around. Now you have to pick up the book, find the page, do all that reading, put it down, and then take your next turn. So it ends up playing slower. I would say a two-player game is probably about as fast as a one-player game, which is interesting. Neat, very very evocative, and very different stories every time you play. You never know what'll happen, but yeah. And there's also a newer version of it. Have the Mythos Tales, I think it's called, something like that.
I certainly
And
wouldn't know about it.
yeah, similar concepts based on the Tales of the Arabian Nights, but Lovecraftian inspired. Sounds really neat, but I think I'm going to avoid it and just keep with my Arabian Nights one. And a second honorable mention I was going to do,
Oh, Albert had a ton this time.
I have a few more, but this one I want to mention, the Choose Your Own Adventures, The House of Danger. It's a 6 chapter
Oh,
game. Each chapter is maybe 30 to 45 minutes, so it's not too bad. But when I read the rule book, it said you could play each chapter one at a time, put it away, or just play the whole thing. Up to you. And it didn't really tell you up front that it was a 45 minutes per chapter. So the first time I played it, I just kept going and I went on for hours. It was like 4 hours to finish the game from start to end.
yeah.
So
We enjoyed that one too. We did that Choose Your Own Adventure.
yeah, but you probably did them one chapter at a time and put it away, I bet.
I did do one chapter at a time. Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a more
I wasn't
reasonable
so
way to
into
do
some of
it.
the dice rolls and things.
Yeah, it's a light game. It's really about telling the story again. It's it kind of overstays its welcome if you play it in one sitting, so you kind of need to break it up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I ended up not really including it, because in the end you can't play it in one sitting because it's just too much of the same. Unlike the Kingdom Builder game, interestingly enough.
Or Cantaloop, I felt.
Okay, Cantaloop for me, I was happy to put it down every once in a while. It was too
Oh
much
yeah.
for one sitting for me, sort of thing. Yeah.
I mean, we didn't actually try to play it all in one sitting because we didn't have time, but
Oh,
I was eager to play it when we were playing through it.
really? Okay. I don't remember having that experience myself. That's interesting. So yeah, those are big, long games. Enough to fill your time between this episode and the next.
But maybe we don't want to have too big longer of a podcast.
Yeah.
So
Well. Oh yeah.
let's call it there.
Let's call it there. And because I mentioned actually the next episode is 2 weeks off because I'm going to be traveling next week. So it's going to be a long break. So you got a lot of time to play these games now. No excuses.
All right. Have a great night, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. We love feedback, so we love hearing from you. You can reach me at julius@oneplayerpodcast.com or JLBird on BGG, and Albert can be reached at albert@oneplayerpodcast.com or Fractaloon on BGG. Our website is oneplayerpodcast.com with the number 1, and we're also on Twitter at oneplayerpodcast. The intro music is copyright Angus, can be found at jamendo.com. The transition music is copyright by Dan Elduce Pancaldi, whose page is at donpancaldi.com. The One Player Podcast is protected under a Creative Commons share-alike license. Thanks for listening.